Breaking news! Things are heating up behind the scenes at the Philadelphia Eagles, and I have something very important to share with you. We all know that our general manager, Howie Roseman, is hungry to win another Super Bowl next season, but on the other hand, the Eagles still need to address a few issues within the team. I'm about to tell you everything I've learned over the past few hours, but before I get into all the details, make sure you've already hit that like button. But only do it if you believe that Howie knows what he's doing and will be able to lead us to another Super Bowl. Man, I really believe in that. If you believe it too, drop a comment saying, "Go Birds! Let's go to the Super Bowl." Now, I really need your full attention. Let's get to the point. Now, straight to the story. Let's talk about the quarterback that everyone keeps underestimating, Jalen Hurts. The narrative out there is simply baffling. The Philadelphia Eagles dominated the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 59, and not only did they win convincingly, but Jalen Hurts also walked away with the Super Bowl MVP title. That's right, he played absolutely brilliant football, not just in the NFC Championship game but also in the Super Bowl itself. Yet, despite all that, there are still people trying to question whether Jalen Hurts is truly one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. Over the weekend, a Twitter thread from Eagles fan Tom Stakes caught my attention, and it's packed with insights that we've discussed before but presented in such a clear and compelling way that it's impossible to ignore. Tom Stakes effectively dismantled the surface-level stats and simplistic narratives that some critics use against Hurts. He made it crystal clear that Jalen Hurts plays quarterback at a higher level than Dak Prescott, especially when it matters most, in the playoffs. Think about it, a lot of casual fans lean on basic metrics like total touchdown passes to argue who's better. But is it about volume or quality? Tom Stakes illustrated it perfectly with this analogy. If you own 3 Lamborghinis and your neighbor owns 15 Toyota Corollas, who has the better car collection? Of course, it's about quality. The same logic applies to quarterback play. Hurts may be throwing less, accumulating fewer yards and touchdowns, but when he does drop back to pass, the stakes are much higher. Every opportunity counts. Efficiency, not volume, is the true measure of quarterback greatness. Jalen Hurts exemplifies that efficiency. Despite being part of a team whose offensive identity has leaned heavily on a dominant run game, let's not forget the 2,000-yard rusher Saquon Barkley and the best offensive line in football. Hurts still managed to combine for more than 30 touchdowns while throwing just 5 interceptions last season. That's outstanding production under pressure. And when the Eagles leaned even more on him in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts didn't just hold his own, he excelled. He passed the test with flying colors, proving he can shoulder the load when it matters most. This is a quarterback who thrives on efficiency, making the most of every snap, every drive, every opportunity. Consider this statistic. Jalen Hurts has the highest adjusted completion percentage in the NFL. This metric excludes factors beyond the quarterback's control, like drop passes, throwaways, spiked balls, batted passes, or when the quarterback is hit during the throw. Stripping away all those variables, Hurts is number one. He outperforms Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow, and even Lamar Jackson in this regard. This isn't just cherry-picking numbers, this is concrete proof that Hurts does more with less. Tom Stakes also pointed out that Hurts has the highest career completion percentage in Super Bowl history across 2 games, an astonishing 73.3%. Efficiency like that, on the biggest stage, is no accident. It's the hallmark of an elite quarterback. Yet, critics keep throwing shade because Hurts doesn't always post gaudy, video game-like stats. But football is a team sport, and when you've got a great defense and a powerful run game, it makes perfect sense that the quarterback's volume stats might not be off the charts. That doesn't diminish the quarterback's value, it highlights the team's strength. Let's also talk about money. Of the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL right now, none have won a Super Bowl, except for Jalen Hurts. Before Brock Purdy signed his contract, Hurts was in that elite group of highest paid quarterbacks, and unlike the others, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, he actually brought home the Lombardi Trophy. Now, comparing Jalen Hurts to Dak Prescott becomes even more revealing when you look at how each performs under pressure in the playoffs. Let's break it down. In the Cowboys' last 3 playoff losses, all against tough opponents, Dak Prescott's performance under pressure wasn't just below par, it was alarming. In the wild card round in 2021 against the Niners, Prescott faced a pressure rate of 27% and had a bad throw percentage of 34%. He was sacked 5 times and threw 1 interception. The following year in the divisional round against the same team, with a much lower pressure rate of 10%, his bad throw percentage was still 16%, with 1 sack and 2 picks. Against Green Bay in the wild card, pressure rate 16%, bad throws 17%, for sacks, and 2 interceptions. Now, look at Jalen Hurts. Against the Chiefs in 2022, with a pressure rate of 21%, Hurts had a bad throw percentage of just 9%. He was sacked twice but threw no interceptions. In 2024, with even higher pressure, 24%, his bad throw percentage was still only 18%, with 2 sacks and just 1 interception. The contrast is striking. Hurts maintains composure and efficiency even when the heat is on, while Prescott struggles. These numbers tell the real story. When the spotlight is the brightest, when the pressure is highest, Jalen Hurts delivers. He's gone 2-0 in NFC Championship games, played his absolute best football in the Super Bowl, outplaying even Patrick Mahomes in both appearances, and consistently torching Steve Spagnuolo-led defenses. Yet somehow, there are still doubters. There are still people questioning his place among the NFL elite. But the facts are undeniable. Jalen Hurts is a winner, a leader, and an elite quarterback. He was second in MVP voting in 2022 and has only improved since. So now I leave it to you, Eagles Nation. Who's better? Is it Jalen Hurts or is it Dak Prescott? Let me know what you think in the comments below. JH for Jalen Hurts or DP for Dak Prescott? What's your call? Let's keep it rolling. The conversation doesn't stop here because there's even more context to why Jalen Hurts stands tall among the NFL's elite and why the Philadelphia Eagles are in such a strong position moving forward. One of the most frustrating elements of this entire debate is how quickly people forget that Jalen Hurts has consistently elevated his game when it matters most. We're not just talking about regular season performances here. This is about big moments, NFC Championship games, Super Bowls, where the stakes are life-altering, and every snap is magnified by the weight of millions of eyes watching. Hurts has demonstrated a level of poise, preparation, and execution that few quarterbacks can match. And yet, there's this persistent, almost irrational resistance among some media personalities and NFL fans to recognize him for what he is. Why is that? It's hard not to see a pattern here. When a quarterback like Hurts wins with a supporting cast that includes a dominant rushing attack and a stellar offensive line, critics are quick to say he's carried. But when other quarterbacks succeed with the benefit of top-tier wide receivers or innovative offensive schemes, those same critics applaud their weapons without questioning the quarterback's role. Let's make something clear. Building a team around your strengths is not a flaw. It's not a weakness. It's the foundation of smart football strategy. The Eagles leaned into their identity, powerful run game, top offensive line, and Jalen Hurts complemented that with his efficiency, decision-making, and leadership. That's what great quarterbacks do. They maximize the strengths of the team while minimizing mistakes, especially in critical moments. This is where we circle back to the concept of efficiency. Hurts' adjusted completion percentage, the highest in the league, doesn't just happen by accident. It's the result of meticulous preparation, film study, understanding defensive schemes, and executing with precision under pressure. When you strip away all the noise, all the drops, tipped passes, and situations outside of his control, you see a quarterback who puts the ball where it needs to be with remarkable consistency. And don't underestimate the mental toughness required for that kind of performance.